This is a review of gorilla trekking in Rwanda. I dropped a bag on this experience. I wanted to know if it was actually worth the time and money and whether I recommend it to someone like me. This is for you if you're deciding whether to book this tour or skip it. I've done a lot of tours while traveling and I'm pretty selective about what I recommend, especially when time or money is limited for most. I'm filming a separate docuseries episode if you prefer more of a storytelling format. This video is more informational and includes specific details about the logistics, like the cost and the timing. I'm going to show you exactly what it's like, who it's best for, and who should probably pass. Feel free to watch both videos for the most in-depth review of the experience. But let's get into it. Here's what to expect. The tour lasted about 12 hours from pickup to drop off. I got picked up at 4:30 in the morning, Jesus. The sun wasn't even awake yet. I was picked up solo and driven for about 2 hours and 15 minutes to the Volcanoes National Park in a private vehicle. We stopped off at the entry and took a few quick photos, and then we drove for another 20 minutes or so to the location that will be our last encounter with civilization. This was seemingly the meetup spot for everyone during the tour at this time. We had our last opportunities to use the restroom. You could also rent clothes and shoes from the locals as long as you have cash. Bring lots of American dollars. We were given coffee and tea, and we met our tour group for the day. I was paired with a couple other groups, so there were about 6 of us in the group, and we had 2 guides. We introduced ourselves and got a quick safety briefing. After the briefing, we got back on the road for an additional 30 minutes to reach the hiking spot, which apparently varies, so the drive may not be the same each time. We started the hike just after 8 a.m. We reached the gorillas by 9:52 a.m., so maybe about an hour and 45 minutes of hiking. I say this is pretty physically demanding just because your feet kind of sink in the mud and you have to climb over a couple things, but we had people well into retirement age in our group and they made it through just fine. Oh, in fact, one of them actually had experienced this before and found it a bit challenging, so she hired 2 porters. Now, traditionally, they pretty much just hold your bag so you don't have to carry the extra weight while you hike, but they literally held her hands the entire way and helped her trek through the rugged terrain and even picked her up when necessary. And they work solely on tips, so this is not an expensive option. And the pace, perfect. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw how old some of the people in my group were, I was relieved because I didn't want to be the one holding everyone up. My athletic build can be deceiving. I haven't worked out consistently in over 20 years, but the guys set a very nice and relaxing pace no matter who's in the group, and they stop for just a few minutes every about 15 to 20 minutes or so to allow you to rest, drink water, snack, or even use the restroom. Yes, in the bushes, so maybe bring some wipes if you're concerned about this. None of it feels rushed. If you need more time, they'll gladly give it. This tour felt like an adventurous hike. Theoretically, when you're hiking, there's always a possibility that you may run into whatever wildlife may be native to your area. With this hike, you have the added anticipation of definitely encountering wildlife. Of course, they make no guarantees because this is the wild. It's not controlled, so they increase your probability as much as possible because they're familiar with the area and the gorillas' patterns throughout the year. And just in case, as an added measure, they have trackers who hike ahead of time and walkie-talkie to guides who walk with you just to let them know when the gorillas are found and also tell us exactly where to come. So theoretically, our walk will be as short as possible. I will say this is not for impatient people or people who need to be in control or even need specifics. I say this because you're basically walking aimlessly with no clue how long this walk will be. So I'm out here rationing snacks and water just in case. I'm trying to avoid looking at the time. I'm singing Negro spirituals. And to be clear, no, not even after you arrive do you find out the length of time of the hike. If you think about it, any other hike, you know when you start, it typically takes this many minutes to reach the peak from start to finish. It's this many miles. With this, they're like, yeah, it could take anywhere from 30 minutes to 8 hours. Now, when you first hear the 30-minute part, you start shaking your head like, oh, okay, I got 30 minutes in me. And then the delayed processing of that 8 hours part finally sink in and you lose all hope. But you're already here at this point, so now you just got to channel your inner Tarzan and make it happen. Even if we got to swing from trees at this point, we outside. It felt real cool, like we were on National Geographic sometimes. Other times, it felt like we were on Survivor. But I will say it met my expectations. To be fair, the only expectation I had was to see the gorillas close up, and I prayed I wouldn't have to walk more than an hour and a half to do it. My prayers was answered. It took us about an hour and 45 minutes to reach the gorillas, but honestly, it didn't feel that long, so I consider it a win. Once you reach the gorillas, they don't want you to bring any of your personal belongings, so you stash all your things in the bushes just a couple minutes walk away. This is also where your porter will wait for you if you opted for one. Learn from my mistake. Grab your raincoat up out that bag before you walk away, no matter what the weather is like, because it's the rainforest and it can change fast. Now, they advertise that your permit entitles you to 1 full hour with the gorillas. We stayed and watched the gorillas for only about 45 minutes, but It felt like plenty. It started to rain slightly, so I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it. We hiked an hour and 15 minutes back for a total of 3 hours and 45 minutes in a while. We got back and we had another opportunity to use the restroom. And then my private driver took me to a local spot to grab some food. And it took us about an hour's drive to reach the restaurant. This is worth it for you if you enjoy wildlife encounters and hiking. Gotta be both. If you are someone who loves long walks and pet squirrels and stuff, this is definitely for you. If you have never exercised in your life, maybe skip this one, or at least go on a few hikes in your local neighborhood so you can kind of get a feel for your tolerance for temperature changes, what it feels like to walk on different terrain. There will be bugs. You will have to touch trees, so just keep those things in mind. I went mid-December, so the weather was about 70 degrees and overcast with a breeze, which is perfect hiking weather, and it rained lightly for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, now let's talk cost, because I know that's what you want to know. I chose a tour that offered private transport from Kigali, which is the city, to the Volcanoes National Park, which is a couple hours drive. Once booked, they help you with all the logistics of how to purchase your permit and everything, so it's not confusing. They make it so easy a caveman can do it. But in general, this gorilla trekking experience is expensive. I probably should have led with that, huh? I'm crazy for spending this much money for 1 hour with gorillas. That's the part that's crazy. But anyway, now don't be counting my pockets, but I want to be transparent with you before you even add this to the vision board. The tour was $550. Now that includes transport. Then the permit for the gorilla trekking is $1,500 just to see the gorillas for an hour. That's standard. The Rwanda visa on arrival is $50, and you do that at the airport. And then don't forget tips. So you have the trackers. They recommend $10 for each of those. $20 they recommend for the guide. The porters, those are optional. Those are the ones that carry your bags, but they recommend $10 of tip for them. The gator rental, those are the little wraps around my shoes. I highly recommend those. Those were $5 to rent. The rain jacket was $10 to rent, and the hiking boot rental was $10. So that's $21.65 for just 1 day of adventure. Cheaper ways to do things? Sure. I personally value convenience, and I have no problem paying for it in money because I am not patient enough to pay for it in time and not emotionally stable enough to pay for it in a million setbacks. No, thank you. Just go ahead and charge it to the game. Is it worth it? Well, that depends on what you value. Would I personally choose it over a traditional African safari? Absolutely not. So if you're having to choose, I'd personally recommend taking a Jeep. And not because I'm lazy either. A little bit. But I've already done a few of those, so I was okay paying for this because it was a new and rare experience. And I value new and rare experiences. What do you value? Like, example, if you get a coffee every day for 5 days a week, let's say $6 times 5 days a week times about 52 weeks, that's about $15.60 a year. And do not mention grabbing some lunch. That's an extra $10 on the low end. So that's $2,600, and both together, $41.60. Now, I would never do that. I do not value it. I would rather eat a peanut butter and poverty sandwich and water than to waste that kind of money on quick food that does not bring me joy. But everybody is different. Some call me cheap. I just have a different value system. We all have different values, and that's okay. I'm just saying, before you say you can't afford it, you probably can figure something out if it's worth it enough to you to rearrange your value system. If not, I respect that too. I will say most people would not do this, but if you decide this is right for you, I booked the exact tour through Viator, and I put the link below so you don't have to accidentally book the wrong one. I personally have no regrets. I had a great workout for a change, and I was in awe of these creatures in their natural habitat. Without hesitation, I would highly recommend this tour, and I think it's worth the hype. I hope this helps you make the decision that's right for you.